My wife announced while setting up the nursery, "After this baby arrives, I'm done with you. Child support will handle everything." She thought I was downstairs. I was in the doorway recording. Her face when I played it for her parents at Sunday dinner. I, 31 male, have been married to my wife, 29, for 3 years. She's currently 7 months pregnant with what I thought was our miracle baby after 2 years of trying. I say thought because after what I overheard last week, I don't know what to believe anymore. Let me back up. My wife and I met through mutual friends at New Year's party about 5 years ago. She was charming, ambitious, beautiful. I was a decent guy with a stable job in IT consulting. Nothing flashy, but I do well. Make around $140,000 a year, own my house outright, inherited from my grandmother before we got married, important detail, and I've got solid savings. She moved in after a year of dating. We got married 2 years after that. Things were good. At least I thought they were good. About 18 months ago, we started trying for a baby. It wasn't happening. We did tests, saw specialists, the whole thing. Turns out she had some fertility issues that made conception difficult, but not impossible. We were both disappointed, but committed to trying. She wanted a baby more than anything, she said. It was her dream. 6 months ago, we found out she was pregnant. I cried. Actual tears. I thought this was the beginning of the best chapter of our lives. Last Saturday, I was supposed to be running errands. Had a whole list: hardware store, grocery pickup, drop-off, dry cleaning. But I forgot my wallet on the kitchen counter. Classic move. Drove 10 minutes, realized it, drove back. When I came in through the garage, I could hear her upstairs. She was in the nursery. We'd just finished painting it the week before. Soft yellow walls, white trim. I was so proud of that room. I started walking up the stairs to say hi, let her know I was back. That's when I heard her voice. She was on the phone with someone. Speakerphone, loud enough that I could hear both sides of the conversation from the hallway. Her best friend's voice. "So you're really going through with it?" My wife. Why wouldn't I? This was always the plan. I don't know. 3 years is a long time. Don't you feel anything for him? My wife laughed. Actually laughed. He's fine. He's a good provider. But come on, you've seen him. He's so boring. Once this baby comes, I'm done. Child support from his salary, plus whatever I get in the divorce. I'll be set. I can finally start actually living my life. I stopped breathing. I swear my heart stopped for a full 5 seconds. Her friend, what about the house? You said it's paid off. My wife, that's the tricky part. It was his before we married, so I probably can't get it. But 3 years of marriage, a baby, California spousal support laws? I'll get something. My lawyer already looked into it. Her lawyer. She already had a lawyer. Her friend. And he has no idea? My wife. Please. The man thinks I hung the moon. He's so grateful to have me. He'd never suspect anything. He actually thinks I love him. It's kind of sad, honestly. That's when I pulled out my phone. My hand was shaking so bad, I almost dropped it. But I hit record. I stood there in that hallway for another 4 minutes, recording every word. She talked about how she'd been playing the long game since before we got married. How she knew I had money and property. How the baby was leverage for a better divorce settlement. How she planned to file when the baby was about 6 months old because courts love new mothers. When she finally hung up, I had over 6 minutes of audio. Clear as day. Her voice. Her words. Her plan. I quietly walked back downstairs. Got in my car. Drove around for 2 hours just processing. That night, I acted normal. Smiled at dinner. Rubbed her belly when she complained about back pain. Told her I loved her before bed. And I started planning. Sunday dinner at her parents' house is a weekly thing. Has been since we got married. Her mom makes a big spread. Her dad pretends to like me. Her younger brother shows up sometimes. This past Sunday, everyone was there. Even her grandmother. We were about halfway through the meal. Her mom was talking about the baby shower she's planning. Her dad was asking about my work. Normal family stuff. Then my wife said something that made my blood boil. I'm so lucky to have found someone who takes such good care of me. Not every woman gets a husband who works so hard to provide. The audacity. The absolute audacity. I smiled and said, actually, since we're all together, I wanted to share something with everyone. My wife looked confused. What do you mean? I recorded something interesting last Saturday. I think your family deserves to hear it. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the little Bluetooth speaker I'd brought for sharing baby videos, and I pressed play. The room went dead silent. 6 minutes of my wife's voice, explaining how I was a meal ticket, how she never loved me, how the baby was leverage, how she'd already consulted a divorce lawyer, how she planned to take me for everything she could. Her mother's face went from confused to horrified. Her father's jaw actually dropped. Her grandmother put down her fork and just stared at her granddaughter. My wife, she went white, then red. Then she started crying. That's not what it sounds like. I was venting. You took it out of context. What context makes child support will handle everything? And he actually thinks I love him. It's sad sound better. I asked. Her dad stood up from the table. He looked at his daughter like he'd never seen her before. Is this true? He asked. Did you marry this man for his money? She couldn't answer. She just kept crying and saying it's complicated over and over. I stood up. I've already contacted a divorce attorney. I wanted your family to hear this directly from you before any story gets spun. I thought you all deserve the truth. I left. Behind me, I could hear shouting starting, her father's voice rising, her mother crying, her trying to explain. I drove home alone, packed a bag for her, and left on the porch. Changed the locks. She doesn't own any part of the house. It was mine before marriage. We never added her name, and I confirmed with my lawyer that I'm within my rights. She showed up around 10 p.m., mascara running, screaming at my door. I told her through the Ring doorbell that her things were on the porch and we could communicate through attorneys going forward. She banged on the door for 20 minutes before her brother came to pick her up. That was 4 days ago. Update 1, 6 days later. So things had gotten messy. Really messy. After the Sunday dinner incident, I expected some fallout. What I didn't expect was the level of manipulation my wife would attempt. First, some context on the legal stuff. I met with my attorney the Monday after the dinner. He's a family law specialist, been practicing for over 20 years. I played him the recording, and he said something that surprised me. This is helpful for narrative purposes, but I have to be honest with you. California is a no-fault divorce state, meaning even if she married you specifically to divorce you and take your money, the court doesn't really care about motive. What matters is asset division and, soon, custody and support. That was a gut punch. I thought the recording would be some kind of nuclear weapon. Turns out it's more like a shield than a sword. Here's the breakdown he gave me. The house is mine. Premarital property, never added her name, no community funds used for mortgage payments since it's paid off. She has no claim. My retirement accounts and savings from before marriage are mine. But anything I earned or saved during the 3 years of marriage is community property. She's entitled to half of that. And the baby? If it's mine, and I had no reason to doubt it at the time, but now I'm not sure about anything. I'll owe child support regardless of her intentions. The child is innocent in all this. I asked about the recording affecting custody arrangements. He said it could potentially be relevant in showing her character, but courts focus on the child's best interests, not punishing parents for being terrible spouses. So legally, she's still going to walk away with something. That's just the reality. But here's where things got interesting. Day 2 after the dinner, my wife's narrative started spreading. Suddenly, I was the villain. She told anyone who would listen that I had entrapped her, that I manipulated the recording, that she was just venting to a friend, and I blew it out of proportion. Her friends started texting me. One actually said, "You humiliated a pregnant woman in front of her entire family. What kind of man does that?" I sent her the full recording. She didn't text back. My wife's mother called me Wednesday night. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got me. "I need you to understand something," she said. "My daughter made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But she's pregnant with your child. You can't just abandon her." I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm divorcing someone who admitted she never loved me and was planning to use our child as leverage for money. She was scared. She didn't mean it. She said she'd been planning this since before we got married. She has a lawyer already. This wasn't a moment of fear. This was a years-long scheme. Silence. Then what do you want? An apology? She'll apologize. We could go to counseling. I want a divorce. That's it. That's all. She hung up on me. Thursday, my wife tried a different approach. She showed up at my office. I work in a professional building, shared floor with several companies. She walked right past reception. They know her, she's visited before, and came to my desk. Visibly pregnant, crying, making a scene. "Please," she said loud enough for my coworkers to hear. "Please just talk to me. I'm carrying your baby. Don't do this to us." Every eye in the office was on us. I could see my colleagues' faces, confusion, sympathy for her, judgment toward me. The optics were terrible. Pregnant woman crying. Cold husband refusing to engage. I kept my voice low and calm. "This isn't the place. Contact my attorney if you want to discuss anything." "I don't want to talk to attorneys. I want to talk to my husband." "You should have thought about that before you spent 3 years planning how to divorce me and take my money." I said it just loud enough that a few nearby coworkers heard. Their expressions shifted slightly. But still, I looked like the bad guy. That's just how it works. She eventually left when building security came up. But the damage was done. I could feel the whispers starting. Friday brought the real escalation. I got a call from a detective. My wife had filed a report claiming I had emotionally abused her throughout our marriage, and she was afraid for her safety. She'd also claimed I threw her out on the street while pregnant. The detective was professional. Asked me for my side. I explained the situation, offered to share the recording and my attorney's contact info. He took notes, said they'd be in touch. My attorney said this was a common tactic. Establish a narrative of abuse to gain advantage in divorce proceedings and potential custody disputes. He advised me to document everything, avoid any contact with her, and let him handle communications. So that's where I am. 6 days in. My wife is telling everyone I'm an abuser. I'm facing a divorce that will cost me money regardless of her intentions. And somewhere in all this, there's a baby coming who didn't ask for any of it. The recording protected me from being blindsided. It protected me from her narrative. But it didn't protect me from the reality that divorce is expensive and messy and rarely feels like justice. Update 2, 3 weeks later. All right, buckle up because the last 3 weeks have been a roller coaster. First, the police situation resolved quickly. The detective reviewed everything. My recording, my documentation, statement from witnesses who were at the Sunday dinner. He told my attorney that no charges would be filed and the report would be noted as unfounded. My wife's attempt to paint me as an abuser failed, but she wasn't done trying. Week 2, she went to her parents with a new story. Apparently, she told them I had been neglecting her emotional needs for years, and her conversation with her friend was just processing her unhappiness, not actual planning. She claimed the lawyer she mentioned was someone she'd consulted about options, not an actual divorce attorney. Her father called me. I was surprised. I figured her family had written me off. "I need to ask you something directly," he said. "Man to man. Go ahead. My daughter says you were cold and distant throughout your marriage. That you made her feel unloved. That's why she said those things. Is any of that true?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I'm not a perfect husband," I said. "I work a lot. I'm not the most emotionally expressive person. But I never neglected her. I never mistreated her. And I never, not once, planned to use her or leave her for money. That's the difference." He was quiet for a moment. I heard the recording. "She said she never loved you. She said the baby was leverage." Yeah, I don't know how to process that. She's my daughter. But what she said, he trailed off. "I just needed to hear your side without the crying and the excuses. I appreciate that. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I thought you were a good match for her. Thought you'd take care of her. Turns out she didn't deserve that." That conversation meant more than I expected. Her own father, acknowledging what she'd done. But the real bombshell came in week 3. My attorney got the discovery document from her side. Financial disclosures, asset declarations, the standard stuff. And buried in there was something that made my stomach drop. Credit card statements showing charges at a hotel. 3 different dates over the past year. All while I was traveling for work. I asked my attorney what that meant. He said it could be nothing. Maybe she stayed somewhere for a spa day or met friends. But combined with everything else, he suggested I might want to get a paternity test. A paternity test for the baby I'd been preparing for. The baby I cried over when we found out. I agreed to request one as part of proceedings. When my wife's attorney received that request, apparently all hell broke loose. She called me directly against her attorney's advice against my attorney's cease and desist, just called my cell phone at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're really doing this? A paternity test? Are you serious right now? You had hotel charges on your credit card for nights. I was out of town. What am I supposed to think? I told you about those. I stayed with my friend when she was going through her divorce. You never told me anything about that. Silence. The baby is yours, she finally said. I swear to God the baby is yours. You're humiliating me for nothing. Then the test will prove that, and we can move on. She hung up. The test was court-ordered as part of the proceedings. Non-invasive prenatal paternity test. They can do it with a blood draw from the mother now. Results take about a week. While we waited, her behavior escalated again. She started a private social media group, one of those support circles for women going through difficult divorces. Except instead of support, it was basically a coordinated campaign to trash me. Screenshots started getting back to me from mutual friends who'd been added. She posted about my controlling behavior. She posted about how I recorded her without consent, legal in California for conversations you're part of, and I was close enough to be considered a participant according to my attorney. She posted about how I was forcing her to take a paternity test to humiliate her. One of our mutual friends, a woman I actually respected, sent me a screenshot with the message. I thought you should see this. I don't know what to believe anymore, but this seems one-sided. I sent her the original recording. No commentary, just the audio. She responded, holy crap. She really said all that. Every word. That friend left the group that night. Apparently messaged my wife saying she couldn't support this narrative anymore. My wife kicked her out and posted about how some people will always believe abusers. Abusers. That's what I was now. An abuser. Because I caught her planning to use me and refused to go along with it. The paternity results came back on a Friday afternoon. The baby was mine. I'm not gonna lie. I felt relief. And then immediately felt sick for feeling relief about my own child. What a mess. My attorney called me after receiving the results. Good news on the paternity front. But I have to warn you, this doesn't change much practically. You'll still owe child support. You'll still have to co-parent with her. The judge isn't going to care that she planned to divorce you for money. I know. What I can tell you is that the recording, combined with her behavior during these proceedings, the false police report, the social media campaign, showing up at your workplace, all of this can be used to establish a pattern. It won't punish her, but it protects you. It makes it very hard for her to claim you were the problem when she's documented being this. Fair enough. I'll take protection over punishment at this point. Final update, 2 months later. This will be my last update. Things have more or less settled into a new reality, and I think I owe everyone who followed along some closure. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. Here's what the settlement looked like. She got half of the money I earned and saved during our 3-year marriage. That came out to about $86,000. Not a small amount. It hurt to write that check, knowing what I know now. But that's the law. Community property means community property, regardless of whether your spouse ever actually loved you. The house stayed mine. My attorney fought hard on that one. And since it was clearly premarital property with no commingling of funds, the judge agreed. Child support was calculated based on our incomes and the custody arrangement. I pay $1,840 a month. That's the standard calculation for my income level with the visitation schedule we agreed to. Custody. We have joint legal custody, but she has primary physical custody. I get the baby every other weekend and 1 evening per week. My attorney said this was actually a good outcome for a father in my situation. Courts typically favor mothers for primary custody of infants, especially nursing mothers. So yeah, she got money. She got primary custody. On paper, you could say she won. But here's what she lost. Her family. Her parents haven't cut her off completely, but her father has made it clear that he's disappointed in ways he can't express. Her mother still helps with the baby, but their relationship is strained. Her grandmother, the one who was at that Sunday dinner, hasn't spoken to her since. Apparently, she told the family that she didn't raise her granddaughter to be a con artist. Her friends, the social media group she started, it imploded. Once enough people heard the actual recording, which I shared with anyone who directly accused me of being an abuser, the narrative fell apart. Her support circle turned into a what did she expect circle. Most of her close friends have distanced themselves. Her reputation, in our social circle, among our mutual friends, among my coworkers who heard about the situation, she's known. Not as a victim, not as a woman who escaped a bad marriage. As someone who admitted on tape that she married for money and planned to use a child as leverage. That follows you. The affair question never got fully resolved. Those hotel charges stayed unexplained. She swore the baby was mine. The test proved it. And my attorney said pursuing the cheating angle further wouldn't change the financial outcome and would only make me look vindictive. So I let it go. Some questions don't need answers. As for me personally, I'm tired. I'm poorer. I'm going to be connected to this woman for at least 18 years because of our daughter. Yeah, daughter. She was born 5 weeks ago. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. She has my nose. I was there for the birth. My wife, ex-wife now, didn't want me there, but I had a legal right to be present. It was awkward and tense and uncomfortable. But when they put my daughter in my arms, none of that mattered. She's innocent in all of this. She didn't ask to be born into a broken family. She didn't ask to be leverage. She's just a baby who needs parents who love her. I do love her, more than I thought possible. And that's the complicated part, because loving her means dealing with her mother for the rest of my life. It means paying child support to someone who sees me as a walking wallet. It means co-parenting with someone I can't trust. It means my daughter will someday probably ask why mommy and daddy aren't together, and I'll have to figure out what to tell her. I won't trash her mother to her. That's not fair to a kid. But I also won't lie about what happened when she's old enough to understand. The recording? I've got it saved in multiple places. Cloud storage, external hard drive with my attorney. Not because I plan to use it for anything, but because someday, if my ex tries to rewrite history, if she tells our daughter that I abandoned them or that I was the villain, I'll have proof of the truth. Some people have asked if I regret playing that recording at Sunday dinner. If I should have handled it privately, quietly, without the drama. Honestly, no. If I had confronted her privately, she would have spun a story. She would have cried and apologized and promised to change, and I might have believed her long enough for her to prepare better. By playing it in front of her family, I made sure the truth was established before she could corrupt it. Her parents, her grandmother, they heard it directly. They couldn't unhear it. When she tried to paint me as the abuser later, they knew better. Was it dramatic? Yeah. Was it petty? Maybe. But it was also the only way to ensure that I wasn't. The only one who knew who she really was. My life isn't what I thought it would be. At 31, I imagined I'd be starting a family with a partner who loved me. Instead, I'm a divorced dad with partial custody and a monthly support payment to someone who never loved me at all. But I have my house. I have my self-respect. I have proof that I'm not what she tried to make me look like. And I have a daughter who, despite everything, I already love more than anything. That's how to count for something. To anyone reading this who suspects they're being used, trust your gut. Pay attention to the inconsistencies. And if you ever get the chance to find out the truth, take it. Even if the truth hurts. Even if it blows up your life. Because living with the truth is better than building a future on lies. Thanks for following along. I'm done updating. Time to focus on being a good dad.